Remember, there are no rules in cooking. Taste this. Okay, so we're here with Mary Keene from Cypress Grove Cheese. Mary, how are you?
Great. How are you doing?
Really
Good
pleasure
to meet
having you.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, I'm a big fan of your cheese, and to start off talking about one of my favorites here is really a pleasure. What's the history behind the whole company itself?
Well, the whole company, I started with goats. I wanted fresh, healthy milk for my daughter. Right. And we used to live next door to a cow dairy that had goats for brush control. So I asked the woman if I could buy a goat from her, and she said, honey, if you can catch one, you can have it.
So would you like round it up with a lasso?
No, I put grain out and I nibbled her towards me till I captured her. And her name was Hazel, and so 30 years later, we're a company of 50 making goat cheese.
So this we have the Humboldt Fog.
Right.
And what's the story with the ash in the middle?
Well, the layer of ash is white pine, and it has no flavor, no aroma of its own, but it has a different pH than the cheese. So cheese making is really cultures, it's controlled rot, some people say, or fermentation. But the cheese is very acidic and bright, and the ash kind of tones it down so that as it ripens, it doesn't become overpowering. This cheese has won awards for design. Even it won awards in a best 100 designs in the world for it was in with European architecture, Hermes scarves, and our little baby Humboldt Fog. So because it looks like a cake, it's interesting to people.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
And what do we have down here now?
So these are the fresh cheeses.
Sergeant Pepper.
Sergeant Pepper, Psychedelic, Purple Haze, and Herbs de Humboldt. So we call this our flashback family. You can see the logos are, you know, very 60-ish.
It's a fun kind of thing to name these cheeses. So you're right, it's not so serious.
We say we take our fun and our cheese seriously. So we want to. Food is fun.
Yeah.
It's part of your life. It's part of your family. Let's do a good job, but don't get all overwhelmed about yourself. You know?
Exactly.
Take it. We do a cheesecake for people with weddings. They'll serve that often for the rehearsal dinner or something. It's fun, and people decorate them themselves.
And that seems to be the correct me if I'm wrong, the philosophy of the company is a fun, unique direction.
Yeah, we don't want to copy what someone else is doing. Although a lot of people make goat cheese, we don't want the same thing. We want it to be uniquely Humboldt County. We want it to be uniquely us. Of the fresh cheeses, I think Purple Haze is my favorite. It's lavender and wild harvested fennel pollen. So they take the heads of the fennel and they shake the pollen out, and it just smells so good. Psychedelic is dill pollen with a little bit of dill, and I like to spread it out on a big piece of smoked salmon and roll it up like a pinwheel. And so you slice it like the old 60s thing, which is
very nice.
Our deal.
Well, Mary, I am a big fan of the cheese. It was a pleasure working with it on Taste This TV. I wish you nothing but the best. Thanks for having me here today.
Thank you.
Okay, here at Bourbon Barrel Foods with Matt Jamie. Matt, how are you?
Pleasure to meet you.
Founder of this incredible soy sauce, but don't have me talking about it so much. I really want to hear from the man himself on how it got started. You know, it's always interesting stories on how companies got started. Now, you were a chef. You started off as a chef.
Was.
And you said that there's a need to make a really good soy sauce, and you invented it yourself.
We did. Well, you know, it's that chef bravado. There's 5 ingredients involved with making soy sauce, and kind of what could go wrong. We were in Kentucky, so we have this great history and heritage with bourbon. As I researched how to make soy sauce, I realized that there were these parallels that we could draw between their industry and marketing a new product like this. So we source all our soybeans from within Kentucky. They're non-GMO. We source the wheat from within Kentucky. It's a soft red winter wheat. So bourbons that use wheat, like Maker's Mark, use a soft red winter.
And this has got it's a very unique taste. It's not like an over saltiness. It's not like, your taste buds are kind of twirling around doing backflips. It's very smooth.
Yes.
And it's right to the point. So you're the chef, you get started, you make this incredible soy sauce, but you don't stop there.
No.
Now, You have seasoning, smoked salts. You want to get into a little bit about that stuff?
Oh, absolutely. So, the bourbon barrel has a lot to offer still after the bourbons come out. And by law, the bourbon industry can only use the barrels one time, so they resell them. They recondition them. We buy damaged staves. We use those to smoke our spices with. We do a bourbon smoked sea salt, bourbon smoked pepper, bourbon smoked paprika. We even smoke sugar, which is a bit more finesse involved with that one.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, with the salt, it's easy. Salt doesn't melt to like 700 degrees, but with the sugar, it's about 180. It melts.
This would be an example of it here. Matt, it was an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me here. And for more great products, check out the website on the bottom of the screen. Check out Matt Jamie's creation. You will not be sorry. So now we're going to get started on some great products here. My version of a blini grilled cheese, and blini is just a fancy word for saying pancake or what have you. But I like to make it with potato, 1 egg, and just whip it up with a little bit of flour, and boom, there you have it. So now we have this special cheese that we're going to be using, and we're going to line it up like so. Make the blini. We're going to take this with a little bit of oil, and we're also going to be putting the blini right side. Like anytime you're putting stuff in hot, as you can obviously see, this is hot. This will burn you, right? Make sure that you have a nice coated surface. Take it down, lift the tray up, and go back down. Just shake it a little bit. See how the product just kind of does not stick from the pan? That's exactly what you want. And don't make it too hot either, because bread has a tendency to burn. But always start with a hot pan so that the cheese will melt. So we give that a second on each side, and kind of just work with that. Next, what we're going to talk about is some things that we got here. This is actually a mini cucumber. Now, I'm going to bet that the majority of the people watching today's show has never seen a mini cucumber before like this. And I'm going to cut it open. And it is a cucumber. I mean, it looks fabulous, right? And the flavor is really good, too. And, cucumbers are a great accompaniment to a dish if they're not cut so big that they become annoying. So, okay, we turn this over. And that's okay if the cheese kind of escapes the bread. It's going to happen until it really kind of melts and seams the two slices of bread together. We're looking good. We're just going to leave that there. We're going to add another fat alternative in there, too. That you're going to like. But let's take some of these cucumbers right now. And put them in a dish. Now, what we're going to make is a fun type of garden medley, which is going to be accompanied on this grilled cheese, which is going to be nice and refreshing. We're going to put it right down the side there with it, too. But before we do that, as usual, we'll kind of skip into another recipe just for the sake of time, because you're never going to see Taste This TV or Joe Ciminera pulling out a turkey that's already done. Okay, so we're a la minute here. So what we're going to do is take a little bit of oil, and this is some beef that let's talk about this before I just put it in and not explain it. This is beef marinated in some teriyaki. You could see some lemon peel, orange juice. I'm going to go right down in there. Now we're making a sauce for a ravioli here, folks. And the ravioli that we're going to be using is shrimp and lobster. And I think that shrimp and lobster goes great with surf and turf, right? And that's what we got going on here. So before we kind of get to anything else, let's get this started first, because this needs about 30 minutes. So we have heirloom tomatoes. We have yellow. We have red. Beautiful products, organic. And we're going to cut these up. And we're going to put them right in that dish. They're going to be somewhat whole. I don't want small type of pieces in there because I don't want it to disintegrate from the braising time. But we want whole tomatoes. How we're going to achieve that is if we cut, decent amount of sizes here. And don't worry about this. Like a lot of people cut the core. I don't, because by the time it braises, you don't even know it's in there. I'm going to save that one. Cut this. Next, what we're going to do is put some wine in there. I've chosen a white wine because if I would have put a red wine in there, it would have been just way too, it would have been overpowering. The teriyaki would have overpowered the meat and everything else. So we keep it neutral. We'll use a blanc, and it'll work out just fine. And that's what we got going on here. So let that braise, let the tomatoes cook down in the dish. All right, so we're just going to clean this up a bit. And go back to our, we'll let that braise. Keep the tomatoes cooking down and, give it some liquid, some structure, get that beef nice and tender, which is what we want. And then we go back to our mini cucumbers. We have some here, some fresh corn. Now, really up to you what you like to do. You can blanch this and shock it for however you long. You know, if you like al dente corn, I would suggest you do it like 3 minutes. And if you want like really mushy corn, do it double the time. Now, we have these mini sweet peppers, and these are really cool. If you could check these things out, you know, you would think that they're hot, right? You look at it, oh my God, they look hot, but they're really sweet. And you just got to take the ends off it, the tip, and that's it. They're really going to add for a great dish here. And it's really sweet, and each pepper has an individual flavor to it. What I really like is the color contrast. There's like so much color in there. It's really beautiful. All right, our grilled cheese is ready to go. As you see, it looks really good. The cheese is melting on the side. So we're going to take some alternative spread and put a dabble in there. Sort of kind of bring it back to life a little bit. We're going to go both sides. Pick this up. Now, we see what it's doing to the cheese. The cheese is beautiful. I don't like my grilled cheese with like the cheese hanging over the side like a floppy mess, you know, and hits the oil and you don't know if it's coming or going. So this is good because it's going to hold its structure. This is a good quality cheese here. I mean, this is a cheese from France. It's good. You know, we're going to get to that in just a second here. So we got some other really cool stuff here. Now, we got some turnips. I didn't mention that before. These are mini baby turnips. Good thing about these things is you don't have to cook them. You can eat them raw like crudité. Just make sure you cut the stems down. You could leave them whole if you want. These are just, you know, alternative vegetables, and you can go into your specialty food section, and if you don't have those kinds of vegetables, you know, you could use whatever you have. That's fine. All right, now, we got some tomato. What we're going to do is just cut some of the tomato up and dice it. Put that right in like that. And we got some avocado. Nice ripened avocado. You know, not too soft, but not too hard as well. You open it up and you look it nice. It's not brown. And you know, we've always talked about how to get the pit out of an avocado, but we'll do it again for the people who missed the show. That's it, done. But leave it back in there because it'll help it from oxidizing and turning brown. Because if you leave it like this in your refrigerator with a little bit of plastic, you'd be surprised. It's going to last a while. Now with a knife, cut down here. Make sure you don't go through the skin and get your hand. You can easily just make little squares here. And then you could either go in there with a spoon and kind of, you know, however you think you're going to want in there. I'm only going to want a half avocado. And it comes already chopped, and you don't have to worry about mashing it and stuff like that. Now, before we go into the seasoning of this, we will take a little bit of microgreens, okay? I'm going to be using this stuff called tangerine lace, which is out of this world. Okay, we're going to be doing something with the ravioli later before, and the flavor is just incredible. So it's good to, it holds its structure, it's nice. I'm going to add a little extra virgin olive oil, a little salt and pepper. Now before we plate this first dish up, folks, I'm going to drop these raviolis behind me. Get some raviolis that we're going to be right here, shrimp and crab. I think there might even be lobster in there. We might be in for a treat today. Look out. Now this same cook time. Then over here we have butternut squash that we're going to be doing a nice butter marinade. All right, nice. You really only need a 5-minute cook time on that. What I like to do is just kind of stir the pot just to make sure that the raviolis don't stick to the bottom. And then that's it. I don't touch them. I never soak my raviolis in cold water. You'll see what I do in just a moment here. All right, now let's toss this over lightly. Keep in mind, you got the avocados. Whenever you got the avocados in there, you want to be careful how much you're mixing stuff. And hence, don't use a soft avocado. But you notice how the avocados are still whole, you know? And they really add incredible flavor. They act as a real solid, neutral flavor with this. It's going to cut through a lot of the stuff that we got going on here. All right, so that's our little salsa. Right, we take a plate. And we have our grilled cheese. Wow, baby's hot. Okay, now, doesn't look like a sloppy mess to me, which is what we wanted to achieve. And if you pick it up, you could still see that it's kind of whole and intact, right? Let's go to another cut here. I'm going to try to do something. Okay, so we line the grilled cheese up like this. Nice, nice. This is good quality grilled cheese. You see those grilled cheese trucks that are in the city? We actually visited one on location. Pretty cool. I mean, they have just about everything. Truck, this truck, that truck. All right, let's go to move this over together. Now, we're going to take this salsa that we did. And now this salsa is solid, folks. It's good stuff. Just going to put, you see what those cucumbers actually, they lend itself a really incredible flavor. They almost remind me of like tiger stripe baby squash and patty pans. You know, just some really nice stuff going on here. Put some greens up. And then over the dish, maybe some cracked back black pepper to finish it all. Fresh, of course. Nice. All right, so here you have it. This is our first dish, grilled cheese. Let's get cleaned up a little bit over here. We'll come back, talk about the raviolis, what we're going to do, etc. Don't go anywhere. All right, now we're going to take our raviolis and we're going to strain them. Usually put them back in there for like a couple of minutes. I mean, the whole idea with raviolis, folks, is, you know, you don't want to put any water on them. So the raviolis go back in there. They get a little bit of oil on top. And then you move them around and you sort of let them sit on a sheet pan tray we have here. We'll take the raviolis and we'll just put them on top. And it allows it to hold its structure, holds its shape, and more importantly, it holds the starch in there, which is important. So leave your raviolis kind of sitting out for a little while. Place this into the back. And let's check out this sauce that we talked about. It's getting nice and thick. I love it. And we can start to plate this. At the very end here, what we're going to do is throw some basil in here. Of course, fresh basil, never dry, you know the deal. And that'll give it some extra flavor on the way out. And I think I want a little bit more in there because it actually looks good for a garnish. And of course, make sure you grab an Israeli basil because there is a difference, and the difference is washing your basil 4 times, so make sure you get all the sand out. With Israeli basil, there is no sand, so you're good. So now we're going to take a plate. And we got our raviolis that we talked about, right? One thing I like about raviolis, not washing them or rinsing them in cold water or anything else, is they retain their starch. So you're not going to get like a puddle of a mess here. Take our raviolis. Use my hands, will be quicker. Right? Now, you know, talking about raviolis, definitely a 5-minute cook time is really kind of where you want to go. I wouldn't necessarily do anything more than that. Give a good stir here. This is definitely a hearty dish. And we got chunks of tomato. Remember we were talking about why you should not dice the tomatoes that small? Because, you know, when you got a 30-minute show that you're working on, you don't want to kill yourself with not being able to find a tomato. I mean, the part of the reason for using tomatoes, I think, is that you can eat them whole. I mean, that's really the bonus in my book. All right, so again, you don't want to drown this. So, I think this is going to be good. We got some beef in there. We got some jus right over the top. You can clean this up a little bit. Now, you could put some sliced cheese on top, or you can put some microgreens. Microgreens tend to really go good on this. And that's what you have it. You have an incredible teriyaki beef glazed tomato with raviolis, my version of a surf and turf that's really out of this world. Let's get cleaned up here. On to the next dish. We're going to be doing like sort of like a brown butter herb sauce that you're not going to want to miss with apples. Taste this. All right, now's the next dish, right? So what we're going to do is just take the skin off this apple really quickly here. And we just want a little bit of apple, which, you know, when you put apple in this dish, people don't really realize what's in it. They just think it's something sweet. It goes well nice. So you have to make sure that you've taken the apples and cut them almost like brunoise, like really, really small. And what you want to do, the whole trick of this, is to make sure that the apples are sauteed nicely, you know, with some kind of a fat. Some fat. I'm going to put some apples in there together. Just going to let it kind of take on the flavor of it. Get a little bit golden brown. Right away you smell the apples caramelizing and stuff like that. It brings you back to a dish. You put a little bit more in there like that. And you don't want to bring to the apples to a point where they're burnt, but you want to make sure that they're not going to be as hard as if you would bite them, you know, at the raw state. So, I mean, this is about good. They've been cut so small that they'll soften up really quickly. Next, what we're going to do is take a little bit of this chocolate mint. If you could smell it at home, it's incredible. It's a combination of chocolate and mint. We throw it in there like that. Right, and we take a little bit of purple shoots. And a little bit of heavy cream, very little bit of heavy cream. Now this is a very light sauce. It's a flavorful sauce. It's very different. It's going to complement any kind of yellow squash raviolis that you have there. You could add a little bit of cinnamon if you want. I'm not going to. A little black pepper. A little salt. And I like to really make sure that the sauce gets nice and thick. All right, now to take this off the fire, and what you're going to do is, I mean, see how creamy and nice it looks? The apples really give it a nice consistency. Go right over the ravioli. Can't stand when people just take it and go right over and hope like they get something, you know? So, you know, take your time, go over each ravioli, because you're going to eat each ravioli individually. That's like saying you're just going to take the whole plate, shove it down your mouth. So, you know, don't care about if you get a little bit of dressing on this or not. But, I mean, you want to make sure you have an even amount of sauce on all the raviolis. Then, make the dish look extra special by taking these mustard leaves. Serious flavor, too. Get into these microgreens. I'm telling you, you're gonna love it. And just spread a little bit over. I mean, look what they do to the dish. Not only that, they're going to add incredible flavor, which is going to cut through a lot of that fat that we have here. Well, check this dish out with the apples. I'm sure you're going to be amazed at this one. Thank you again for watching this fun-filled episode of Taste This TV. Check us out on Twitter. Hope you have a great day. And remember, there are no rules in cooking. Taste this.